Richard Ramirez, the infamous serial killer known as the Night Stalker, prowled the streets of Los Angeles during the mid-1980s, casting a dark shadow over the city. His name became synonymous with terror, as his string of brutal murders and attacks left a trail of horror in his wake. But the story of Richard Ramirez is more than just a chronicle of violence. It is a portrait of a deeply disturbed man whose life spiraled into the abyss of evil. Born in El Paso, Texas in 1960, Richard's early years were marred by dysfunction. His father, prone to violent outbursts, left a lasting impact on his psyche. But it was his older cousin, Miguel, who would introduce him to the darkest elements of human nature. A Vietnam War veteran, Miguel regaled Richard with stories of torture and death, even showing him photographs of the atrocities he committed during the war. This exposure to violence at such a formative age twisted Richard's understanding of right and wrong. By his teenage years, Richard had developed a fascination with Satanism, death, and sexual violence. He became a drifter, bouncing between jobs and living on the fringes of society. It wasn't long before his deviant desires escalated into something far more dangerous. In 1984, Richard began his reign of terror. His attacks were random and vicious, with no consistent pattern to his choice of victims. He targeted both men and women, young and old, in their homes. His methods were brutal: bludgeoning, stabbing, shooting, but what set him apart from other killers was the psychological terror he inflicted. He would often taunt his victims, demanding they swear to Satan as he inflicted pain. The media dubbed him the Night Stalker for his nocturnal attacks. As fear gripped Los Angeles, the police scrambled to piece together the clues left behind. Richard's unique shoe print, a rare Avia sneaker, became a key piece of evidence that connected the various crime scenes. But despite the mounting pressure, Ramirez continued his spree, seemingly fueled by the chaos he created. In the summer of 1985, the police finally caught a break. A fingerprint from a stolen car led them to Richard Ramirez. His face was plastered on the front pages of newspapers, and the city erupted in a collective manhunt. On August 31, 1985, Richard was recognized on the street in East Los Angeles. A group of residents chased him down and subdued him until the police arrived. His capture marked the end of his horrifying rampage. In the courtroom, Ramirez showed no remorse. He smirked at the families of his victims, flashing pentagrams he had drawn on his palms and declaring his allegiance to Satan. Despite overwhelming evidence, including witness testimony and his fingerprints at the crime scenes, Richard reveled in the attention his trial garnered. His chilling demeanor only cemented his place in the annals of American crime history. In 1989, Richard Ramirez was convicted of 13 murders, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assaults, and 14 burglaries. He was sentenced to death, though he would spend the rest of his life in prison before dying of complications from cancer in 2013. Richard Ramirez remains a symbol of fear, a reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of society. His crimes continue to fascinate and horrify, not just for their brutality, but for the way they expose the vulnerability of life in the city. The Night Stalker, driven by his inner demons, left an indelible scar on Los Angeles, a scar that would never truly heal.